Well, good morning. Welcome into the Morning Breeder podcast. I am Michael.
I am Eric.
It is Tuesday at 10 a.m., and we have a great show, great podcast in line for you today.
They're all great.
They are all great. Today, we are going to be talking about Shalom.
Shalom.
And we are going to really be unpacking this idea of God's peace and what that can mean for you in your life. And, we spent, not last week, but the week before last, when I was by myself, we spent the entire show.
I deserted you. I'm sorry.
But we spent the entire show talking about, current events and how they're shaping how we respond and how we react to those events. But now we're going to talk about what really is the true end game of what we should be trying to achieve as believers. So welcome into the podcast, and we will be right back with you in just a moment. All right, Eric, we are back. Yep. Another Tuesday, and we are live, and I'm watching.
Oh, that's good.
And I have the comments, so if somebody makes
people
a
can
comment,
do it.
I can respond to the comments, and that's
Perfect.
That's pretty neat.
Perfect.
And we want to just start out by saying some thank yous. We want to thank our website developer Subsplash for helping us with our podcast and getting it out to Facebook, and we'll be on YouTube later as we upload the show, and Anchor.fm and Spotify and iTunes, and
Man, we sound popular.
everywhere you can find podcasts, you can find the Morning Burrito. So thank you.
Our beautiful mugs.
Turning in. What?
Our beautiful mugs.
Oh, mugs. I thought
Well, not mugs.
like,
I guess that could work.
I mean, there are podcasts that have like mugs that
We should get those.
Like if you become a subscriber, they'll give you a
We should
mug.
get those.
So yeah, we should do that. Hand etched though. It's got to be hand etched.
Yes.
And made in America. That's
Yes.
important. So.
Yes.
We want to welcome anyone who's watching from overseas. Again, we know my cousin,
Got one
cousin in Singapore who's been tuning in. So, Colin, if you're watching today, welcome in. And my other cousin, his younger brother Eric, got married this last weekend.
Wow.
Shares your namesake, so that's good.
That's
And,
good.
Eric and Paige, congratulations if you guys tune in this week. Congratulations on your marriage. I'm happy for you. They got married literally a day before my anniversary, which happened to be on Sunday as well. So
Yes.
and today marks exactly
Really?
2 years to the day when we rolled into Hermiston.
Wow. With that U-Haul truck.
With a U-Haul truck
Yep.
with my car in tow
beautiful.
behind.
Beautiful.
And I remember where we ate our first meal with you guys.
Ixtapa.
It was Ixtapa. That's correct.
See, I remember.
We celebrated that by eating at Ixtapa on Sunday.
Oh, you did?
Yes, we did.
Good.
That's where
you
we
didn't
had
take me there, but
no, we
yeah.
didn't.
Of course, it was your wedding anniversary too. So
It was.
yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. 12 years.
12 years.
Man,
Yep.
you did it.
It seems like a long time, but it's really not that long.
Oh,
I mean,
don't say that.
We were talking to one of our
Sorry,
I
Claudia.
was talking to one of our families, one of our couples here in the church, and they're real close to their 50. And then that got us on a conversation. Jeannie and Hal, one of our old couples in the church that have been around for a long time, the Colonel, and right before his passing, they celebrated 75 years.
Yep. It's huge.
75. I was like, man, 3/4 of a century. That's it's an accomplishment to get to even 25 years. It seems like these days, but for them to make it 75 years is, that's cool. And they did get to celebrate their 70th, which is really cool too.
Yep.
So, together.
Well, I've been married. We just celebrated 30, and I just learned last night how my wife counts. She was trying. Her and Garrick were having a conversation, and they were counting, and it was like she was like, it's I can't even do it. She's like, it's 3. I was like, 3. And I'm like, no, it's 3. And she's like, no, it's 3. It's like,
I hope she's watching right now.
Who
because
counts
You're pointing this
3?
out.
And I think she is watching. Do you count like this?
I count like this.
You count like this.
So it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Yeah, right? No. With her, it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
I could see that, I guess.
Why?
I could see people doing it like this.
That
I can't
is-
because my fingers all move together, so it makes
Okay.
things a little more difficult
So
for
then
me.
Garrick, my youngest one, he's sitting on the couch and he's like counting with her this way. And I'm like, what are you guys doing? No, that is so wrong. It is so wrong. And my wife's even homeschooled some of our kids like through the years. And I'm like,
Which explains why he's counting that way.
Well, my kids, I didn't think counted like Spock. I can't even do the Spock thing, but
live long and prosper, buddy, right there.
Yeah, or Mork from Mork and Mindy, nanu nanu kind of thing.
Nanu.
But then she says, well, and we're laughing in our living room. And honey, if you're watching, you can comment to tell everybody that I'm telling the truth. It's because they play the piano, and that's how they do it.
So our
1,
friend
2,
Rayanne
3,
says
4, 5.
Our friend Rayanne said she counts the same way.
Rayanne, no, it's wrong.
And Larry says he missed our tunes at the beginning.
Oh,
he's disappointed.
You'll have to go back
the
and
blues.
listen, Larry.
Yeah.
So anyway, I learned a new way to count last night. Just 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and now it's like I'm not giving you thumbs up. I'm counting right now. This is 1. There you go.
Our office manager also made a very good, astute comment. Now that we have it sitting in front of us, which I don't know why we haven't done this before, but that's my fault. She said we should have had donuts for our 2-year anniversary for me yesterday.
Yeah.
Well, Sunday.
Yeah, if you had a good boss, he would have brought that.
That's a good point.
Yeah.
Yeah, we might want to reprimand the boss for this one.
Yeah.
And then Rayanne also said that.
But if we had a good office manager, she would have had the boss's back.
No, she's got the staff's back because that's
Right. Okay.
Yeah. So Sharon has said it's piano fingering
Piano fingering.
piano fingering, and Rayanne says it's sign language. That's how they count in sign language. So there is basis for it.
This
suppose.
still will always be thumbs up, not number 1. So
number 1.
anyway,
I'm sorry. This has
moving on to our day.
This has nothing to do with Shalom.
I was educated by my wife after 30 years last night.
And I'm sure they're really enjoying that we're commenting on this.
I'm paying attention to how she uses her fingers, because if she starts doing this, I have no idea what this means anymore.
Peace.
Hey, honey, how many hot dogs do you want for dinner?
You know
Is
what?
that 1
Actually,
or 2?
this is funny, and Sharon will probably laugh at this. So I had a worship pastor back in the day at my original church that I grew up in, Chicago First Church. And Clark, if you're watching, don't take offense to this, but Clark didn't play an instrument on stage. He would lead with just his microphone, right? And so Clark would have hand signals that he would give to the orchestra and the praise team and the choir and whatever. And so you'd see like this. What do you think this one means?
C.
Yeah, but what do you think it's referring to?
That means repeat it.
Chorus.
Right. That's what I meant. Let's sing it again.
No.
Go to verse 2.
Verse.
Yeah, okay.
It's V.
Really? Okay.
It's a V.
See, you music people are just weird.
So, and then he had this was the, this is coming to the end, right? And he had I think he had a thumbs up and a thumbs down signal. I've never been that way because I play guitar, so I can't use hand signals very often.
What is this?
When I do this,
Yeah.
that means it's shut up.
Oh, okay.
Stop.
I thought maybe you did something, but
Well, it could mean that my hand is hurt. Like if it's my left hand, it probably means my hand hurts real bad.
all right, we got to move on. We got to go.
We do.
We because we can like do finger sign language all day long. Thank you, my wife, for education.
Okay, so this morning we are going to talk about this idea of shalom, and shalom is a Jewish word, Hebrew word, of course, and I think the best way to start this conversation is to give what is the modern context first, because I think it's been taken out of actual context.
Okay.
And then we can go into what the actual Hebrew context of that word, what it actually means is, and then we can give context as to why it's important in our culture today, why it matters, why we need it. So can you give us, what do you think is what is your perception of the modern context of shalom?
Yeah, the modern context of shalom, I think, is meaning world peace, happiness, hello, goodbye, all is well, let's live happy, shalom.
Mm-hmm. Is that the actual biblical Hebrew context?
So, I mean, so I'm not that scholar, right? But the understanding that I have of the true Hebrew shalom is an inner peace, regardless of the outward circumstance. It's an inner calm. It's when God's saying shalom. It's this inner peace. I am going to be with you in the middle of the calm. It's a shalom.
So if we have this,
Now that's just it in a nutshell. So
I've heard many people in this modern context that you refer to use shalom as sort of like a way to diffuse conversations, a way to diffuse arguments, a way to almost a misuse of that word based on what you just said is the actual context of it.
not necessarily misuse of the word. I mean, there's different ways to use it, right? So I think for today we want to hone it into the Hebrew meaning of it as being it's that inner, it's understanding, it's the inner quiet, it's the inner peace. In other words, your heart has a peace that only God can give, and it doesn't matter the circumstance, right? So that's the true Hebrew. It's the inner peace that God gives. It's that.
So okay, so if it's an inner peace that we get, we have to know where the origin of it is. Where does it come from? Where can it come from? Is it only come from one place? Like, how do we achieve shalom? How does that happen in our life? Because I think anybody who's watching this morning, Eric, is going to say, well, that sounds great. I mean, I would love to have that inner quote unquote peace. How do we get it, and where does it come from?
You know, it's probably different for everybody. I think people that are reading the Word, you're going to get it through Bible study. You're gonna get it through your time with the Lord. I think you get it through growing. It's through the relational depth that you have with the Lord. It brings on a whole new meaning. Because when he talks about shalom, it's based on, okay, I've been with you here, here, and here. I've been faithful to you. So in your reading and your prayer time, in your life journey, looking back and connecting all the dots of how God has provided for you, deepens that inner peace of shalom, because you have confidence that's been built inside you. I have very little confidence in some people when I first meet them. It's like, because I don't know them, right? I don't know them from anybody. Or I have very little confidence that something's going to work quite the way it's supposed to work, because I don't really know. But the more time I spend and I have this encounter, right? I have this interaction, then I have this, okay, you're right. It is this inner peace. This person could be way off wherever, they be mad, they can be, just irate. But I have an inner peace that we're going to be okay. So it's your relationship with the Lord. You got to spend the time. You got to invest.
So if I'm hearing you correctly, then would the source of shalom ultimately be God?
Yes.
And God alone.
Mm-hmm.
So you cannot get shalom by doing good deeds.
Nope.
By protesting, by eating the right foods, or by driving the right car. Like, shalom only comes through relationship with God. Is that fair?
Yep.
Okay. There are a lot of things, and again, 2 weeks ago, I spent the entire podcast talking about all of these things that are going on around us that are, I mean, rightfully so, causing fear, causing angst, causing anxiety in people. And we have Afghanistan, we have the economy, we have COVID. Just COVID keeps coming in waves, right? Like, it's just one after another, it feels like. Along with that, you've got the vaccine mandates, and you've got mask mandates, and you've got life is just not back to normal. We've got kids in school, and kids are getting sick, and kids are in school, and kids are getting sick, and there's just all these different things, right? Is it possible to have shalom in the midst of all of the stuff that is floating around us, that is taking our eyes off of God?
Yeah, I mean, that's a good question. And probably if you're watching today, you're probably going to say, man, that's a great question, because I think we all hunger for that. Mm-hmm. But there's no reason we can't have the shalom, that inner peace. It's very possible, because no matter what our circumstance is, the shalom comes in and goes, I'm going to be with you. Shalom is not calm, right? The definition of shalom, the Hebrew, has nothing to do with calm. But yeah, as humans, we want calm.
We always attribute peace to calm.
Yeah, peace and calm, way different. the idea of calm, we get when let's see, I forget the I forget the verse. I could probably look it up though. The song, the promise that the Lord gave Aaron to give to the Israelites when they passed across the Jordan River and going into the Promised Land. They're getting ready to go to battle, right? They're getting ready to get slayed. Some Israelites are going to die. It was not a calm time, and yet God says, "Hey, Aaron, give them shalom," because even though the circumstance is like your back's on the wall, you don't have an ending in sight, you can't see daylight, you know people are going to die, you're going to lose family, you're going to lose loved ones, you're going to lose limbs and ligaments, you're gonna get hurt, you're gonna get beat up, but you're gonna go and fight evil. And I think part of the list that you just did is like evils of our world, right? It's the circumstance. Those are not calm issues. Shalom does not bring calm. Shalom brings peace.
Jesus, throughout the New Testament, the Gospels particularly, Jesus uses the phrase "peace be with you," which is, correct me if I'm wrong, it's shalom, right? When he says that, "Peace be with you." Mm-hmm. Jesus says that over and over again, particularly when he comes back after being crucified and dead and resurrected. We look during pre-show. We looked at particularly the story of the.
Let me back you up there for a second, though, because when he says "peace be with you," there's more to that than just the shalom, right? He's saying that in those times of adversity,
right?
And the peace be with you. He is the peace, and he's saying, "I'm going to be with you."
Right.
You're going to go forward into tumultuous waters and life, and you're going to get. I mean, the Bible is very clear. You're going to get persecuted. You're going to get beat up. You're going to face things that are fearful. But peace be with you. I'm the peace. I'm going to be with you. Shalom.
Well, and he knew what was coming, right? He knew all but one, right? All but one. Yeah, all but one of Jesus' disciples were martyred for their faith. Am I correct in saying that? I believe it's all but one.
Who was the one?
John. I mean, he wasn't technically martyred.
They tried. Yeah, okay.
I mean, he died alone. I mean, I guess that sucks. But
they tried to boil him in boiling oil, but yeah.
Didn't work, though.
No.
But yeah, so you have all these. I mean, Jesus looked ahead and he knew like these dudes are going to encounter awful adversity, like the worst kind of adversity for just believing in me, right? So peace be with me, peace be with you. So I mean, it's exactly what you just said. But he's not just saying that to them, even though they were going to deal with adversity. He's saying it to us today. And we talked in pre-show about the story, not the story. I mean, it actually happened. The disciples are in the boat. There are two different versions of the story. I don't know if it's two different stories altogether.
It's 2 different stories.
Is it 2 different stories? Because they're found in 2 different places in the New Testament. So there's one story where Jesus is in the boat with the disciples. They're going across the Sea of Galilee, and there's a great storm, and we've been in boats with guys, okay? This does not happen in real life oftentimes. People sleeping when there are bad waves. Like, I've been in our friend Kelly's boat. I had to name check Kelly because
again,
we always got to name check Kelly.
We haven't named him lately.
No. So I've been in Kelly's boat in like not awful wind, but wind that was bad enough where you're like, vroom, doom, vroom, doom. And there ain't no way I'm going to sleep in that. This is a storm, like a really bad storm at night. I would imagine lightning, significant wind, bad waves. Jesus is in the boat sleeping. What happens with the disciples?
Yeah, I mean, exactly. I mean, boom, it's not calm, that's for sure.
Right.
I think they find themselves in amazement after they're realizing, hey, we are so fearful right now. Right?
I mean, they were terrified.
Yeah.
Absolutely terrified.
Yeah, they're like, wow, we're amazed that we're still alive, but we should be dying.
Well, and they ask the question, how is this guy sleeping? Like, what is going on here?
Shalom.
And what does he do?
He stands up and goes, shh.
And everything calms down.
Boom.
To show that I am the calm.
Yep.
But then the second story is this, and this I think is more applicable to exactly what we're talking about here. Jesus is out. Well, actually, the disciples are in a boat, right? And they're going across the Sea of Galilee again.
Well, Jesus just fed 5,000.
He had stayed on the shore, right?
He went up the hills and he was praying for the people, and so they wouldn't make him a political leader,
right?
And he said, "You guys go out in the water, and I'll be out there later.
Yeah,
I'll catch up with you."
And they're out in the middle of the Sea of Galilee, which is a big lake for all intents and purposes. And again, bad storm comes. Mm-hmm. They're out there. They're scared again because that's basically what they did. They needed to be shown things multiple times in order to learn.
Yeah, they're guys.
Yeah. And so in the midst of the storm, they're trying to figure out how they're going to get out of this. They think they're going to die, and they think they see a ghost walking out on the water. And then they realize, oh, it's Jesus. He's out there. What are you doing out on the water, you weirdo? And Jesus says, "Hey, Peter, come out here." Imagine the thought that's going through Peter's head, right? He knows that they're probably going to die. I mean, I'm sure that's what he's thinking. They're going to die here. And Jesus is saying, step out of the boat onto these waves when there's this storm.
Right.
What happens next?
To Peter? Well, he takes his eyes off of Jesus and he goes swimming.
Well, before that, before he goes swimming, he gets out of the boat, right?
Yeah, he gets out of the boat and starts walking.
And he's walking on water. So we always say that there's only one man that's walked on water. That's actually not true. It's not accurate. There were two men that walked on water. Peter walked on water. But he could only walk on water when he was focused on Jesus.
Right.
And it wasn't just that he was walking on water. I mean, we're not talking like glassy sea here. He was walking on water in the middle of an awful storm, in the middle of waves and wind and terror. He was able to do it only because Shalom. Keeping his eyes on Jesus, keeping his heart and his mind focused on Jesus. And the Bible's very clear. The moment that he stops focusing on Jesus, the moment that he stops having shalom, he begins to sink.
Yeah. You look at where we are today, and it's crazy because we have so many things that are pulling us in different directions and being tossed at us. It's easy for us to be in that storm.
Correct.
Right?
Yep.
And it's not that following Jesus is always easy. It's not always comfortable. It's not always fun. It's not.
Oftentimes
it just isn't, right? And that's where the difference of shalom, this Hebrew term, comes in, because in all those uneasy times, they're still going to be uneasy. We still have to fight and take stands, and we have to, maneuver life with whatever's thrown at us. We have to do that, but we can do that and not get all worked up and get our underwear in a bunch.
So I think a logical question from many people is going to be, okay, it's easy for you pastors, talking to us, it's easy for us pastors to say, oh, well, life's not going to be perfect and this, that, and the other. The question that you and I have received probably more times than we could count on our hands and our feet. Well, why does God allow those storms to happen in the first place? Like, why is God, if we're following him, if we're doing what he's asking us to do, then why storms? Why not just make things easy on us?
Yeah, I think that's a whole different podcast topic, right, to dive into that, answering that question,
sure.
Actually. But I think in a nutshell is, okay, well, here's a short list, right? There's a purification process in our own spiritual life, right? It's like, I'm not giving you more than you can bear, so pull up the pull-ups and go through it. I'm giving you a story. I'm giving you testimony so that you can go and encourage somebody else about how I helped you through that storm. That in a nutshell, I think is
sure,
for today. But we don't have answers why things happen.
But again, it goes back that my response has always been, or at least most of the time has been, that's not really for us to understand. Right. We're not going to understand that. And that's not what Shalom is about. We're having, you said that's a podcast for a different day, but the reality is, I don't know how I just pronounced reality. Reality. The reality is that Shalom is peace in the midst of the storm. Mm-hmm. It's peace in the midst of trial and tribulation and the stuff that's going on.
And it may not even be in the midst of it. It might be before it. Because in the story of those disciples going in the boat, there was a creature that lived in the water named Leviathan. In Leviathan, the Jews were scared to death of the creature in the water, Leviathan. They didn't like the boat. So the fishermen, they loved the money, but man, they didn't like going out in the water.
So you're saying they didn't swim in the water?
Well, I think they swam in the water, but they did a lot of praying. No, I don't know. I'm sure they swam, but I mean, there's always this idea of, man, there's something out there. Maybe today, if you're watching, you're looking and you're going like, man, it's Tuesday morning, and I have no idea what I'm gonna do. Get in the boat, because the shalom has got to be the inner peace. And I guess your boat, I'm telling you, is you got to get in the Word. You got to get into prayer. You got to deepen the relationship that you have with the Lord. And if you're a baby Christian, man, go deeper. Spend more time, right? I mean, that's how you do this. You invest your time and make it happen. So.
Yeah, and by the way, just as an aside, if you want to know more about the monsters in the Bible, we had a podcast about that, actually.
Well, kind of, but we should do a podcast on monsters in the Bible, actually. That'd be a really good one.
But we did talk about Leviathan, didn't we? We talked about dinosaurs.
Yeah.
And Leviathan came up in that conversation. So go back to our dinosaurs episode if you want to hear our conversation about dinosaurs. We also talk about ghosts. We've also talked about aliens. So we've talked about a lot of cool monsters.
Monsters would be really good.
That's probably next week's show. Let's do that. Monsters in the Bible, because there's lots of monsters in the Bible.
Yeah.
The unicorn's in the Bible too, by the way. Just FYI.
It is. Only in the King James Version, though.
That's right.
Yeah.
And it's not the unicorn. Anyway. But no, so I think you're right, though. Look, no matter where you are in that Christian journey, okay, some of us are closer to glory than others, glory being going to heaven. Some of us have been in the faith for, 40, 50, 60, 70 years, and some of us have been in it for maybe days. But here's the thing. If you can achieve that shalom, which you may have to achieve it multiple times throughout your life. There's probably going to be times where you're not really feeling the shalom so much. You need to keep your eyes focused on Jesus. That's the first and most important step, keeping your eyes focused upward. And this is something that we've been encouraging our congregation to do all year this year, this idea of filtering our life through Jesus, filtering everything through Jesus, keeping our eyes, Hebrews 12:2, keeping our eyes focused, set above, set on Christ. You are not going to have, correct me if I'm wrong, you're not going to have shalom if you're not keeping your eyes on Jesus.
Correct.
It's not possible. And you're not going to be able to tackle all of the stuff that we talked about, all the stuff that is swirling in our society, in our culture, in our world today, if you don't have it's just going to cause you anxiety. I mean, how could it not? Mm-hmm. Unless you have the peace of God, unless you have shalom.
When you find yourself always trying to calm the calm, I said that totally wrong. Whenever you find yourself trying to always calm the chaos, you're not there, because shalom is not work, right? Calming the chaos is work. Enjoying shalom is like the I am okay. I am going to be able to do this.
Yeah, and I think I don't think. I know that you are going to know that you have shalom when it arrives.
It's a beautiful thing. It's a supernatural thing. You can't really ever explain it.
Because you can look around and you can see the waves, and you know that there's the swirling winds and stuff around you. The old King James word would be tempest, right? There's the tempest surrounding you. But you have this peace inside, this inner peace, as we've been talking about, that just, usually it's like I feel peaceful. Like, I shouldn't. It doesn't make any logical sense why I am, but I know it's there. And it allows you to wade through all of that without being anxious and afraid.
So I want to throw this verse out there. It's Isaiah 43. It's verses 1 through 4. So Isaiah 43, 1 through 4. This is my devotions this morning. It just is exactly what I needed, because I mean, we live in the same world as you guys that are watching this, right? Pastors and non-pastors. We're living in the same world. We have the same junk. We got the same storm. We got the same waves that everybody else has. But this is just cool. All right, this is cool. This is like the shalom for me right now. It's this. But now says the Lord, that who created you, O Jacob, who formed you, O Israel, fear not, for I have redeemed you. I have called you by name, and you are mine. Okay, so here I am. I'm in the middle of the storm, right? I have all kinds of COVID mandates and all kinds of things that I don't agree with, don't want to live by, want to fight against. I have no idea what the economy is going to do. I have no idea what political party is going to make us do this or that or hoops to jump through. Have no idea what's going on in the world. No idea with world peace. No idea with world famine, disease, disaster, earthquakes, fire. I mean, name it. It's coming at us full bore. And then you throw in prophecy and the fear that people have over prophecy, knowing that there's going to be a day that has to happen where things, the Bible says, is going to get really ugly, really hard. There's going to be tidal waves of storm after storm after storm that come, and you can have shalom in the middle of it. And here it's saying, listen, I've redeemed you. I love you so much. I call you by name, and you're mine. I'm not the enemies. I'm not Satan's. I'm not, right? So listen, if you're watching today and you're feeling like overwhelmed by the storm, this is kind of the sermonette part today. We usually don't do this, but verse 2 goes on and says, when you pass through the waters, I will be with you. And when you go through the rivers, they shall not overwhelm you. And when you walk through the fire, you shall not be burned, and the flame shall not consume you. In one verse, God's telling me and reminding me that Moses and the Israelites, I mean, when you pass through the waters, I'm going to be with you. I'm going to shalom, right? It's not going to be calm going through the Red Sea. It's not going to be calm having your enemy breathing down your back, but shalom, I'm going to be with you. And they do. So then the next one is like, hey, you go through the river. That's talking about the Israelites going into the promised land when the Jordan River is at flood stage. And the Bible says that God reaches down with his hand and blocks the flood water so that the people can walk through in safety onto dry ground. Not going to be easy. You're going to go into war. You're going into battle. Shalom. I'm going to be with you. Right? I'm going to do that. And then, the fire, when you walk through the fire, is referring to Shadrach, Meshach, Abednego.
I love that story.
It's a great story.
I love
it. You're not going to be burned. You're not going to be consumed. Shalom. It's going to be hot. Right? It's going to get heated. Your conversations with people are going to be elevated. But shalom, I'm going to be with you. Yeah. And it says, for I am the Lord your God, the Holy One of Israel. I am your Savior. I gave Egypt as your ransom. And because you are precious in my eyes. Has anybody told you that you're precious in their eyes? I mean, you just had an anniversary. I'm sure Claudia said that, right?
I don't know.
No.
That phrase has ever been used.
Yeah. Really?
I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I just did 30 years. My wife didn't tell me I was precious in her eyes. But I know I am, honey. I know, right? I mean, this is podcast talk. So, but because I'm precious in your eyes, and honored. I mean, we're the ones that's supposed to be honoring God, and here God is saying, and I honor you. That to me it just kind of blows whatever storm I'm facing today. I was like, okay, God honors me, and then the last four words in verse 4 of Isaiah 43, and it says, "And I love you."
And this is God speaking.
Yeah, I'm just like, okay, you know what? If you're well, let's just go where the road is, right? If you're looking at mask mandates and you're like so irritated, you need to probably get coffee and take a break, because and you need to read Isaiah 43, because that's where the shalom is for you, and you need to just camp there. You need to go and spend time there. If you're like backs up against vax or unvaxxed, Isaiah 43, right? It is time. It's time. It's time for you to get humbly before the Lord and go, okay, it's not calm. Where's the shalom? Where's the inner peace? because no matter the circumstances, no matter the circumstances on the outside, it never makes room, for chaos in our lives. It really doesn't. It doesn't have to. If you're one that's looking political, and you got political biases and issues that don't agree with anybody else in your circle, and you're always trying to find somebody to fight with you, listen, park it in Isaiah 43, right?
Yeah.
Get over all that. Park it there until you can leave those first 4 verses. If you can get a hold of these 4 verses, your life will be transformed. I mean, you're loved, you're cared for, you're honored, and you've got the Savior watching over you, and it's all right there. It doesn't get any worse than verse 2. I mean, the Israelites at the Red Sea, the Israelites at the Jordan River, and then you got Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego on the shish kebab, going into the furnace. It doesn't get much worse than that.
They're about to be cremated alive.
Yeah, cremated alive. I mean, go figure that out. So us in our world today, we got it pretty good no matter how bad it looks.
Yeah, and I think there's a flip side to this too. I mean, just look at Shadrach, Meshach.
I got a little wound up there. I'm sorry.
Oh, that's okay. But think of Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. King Nebuchadnezzar is the one that throws them into the fire, right?
Yep.
Think of the testimony to God by having that shalom in that moment. The testimony of who God is and how powerful God is in our culture right now, in the storms that we are sailing through at this moment. Think of what it looks like for your people that are around you, that are surrounded in your life, that don't know Jesus, the testimony that it is that you have that shalom in the midst of all of this. That's a huge testimony to Jesus. That's you being Jesus to others, showing that shalom, living that shalom out. But again, that's a choice. God's not going to force his shalom on you. He's not going to force himself on you. That's just not what God does. He allows us to make that choice for ourselves. And so I think that's the flip side, is that you can be a great testimony just by having shalom in the midst of all of this garbage that's surrounding us, because it is garbage and it's not worth us keeping our focus on. Jesus is worth us keeping our focus on.
Yep. So don't spend time looking for calm in the chaos, because you're going to fail and you're going to be frustrated. Focus on finding the shalom that God has for you, because He's created you. You belong to him if you're a believer and a follower in Christ. He honors you, and he says, hey, knucklehead, I love you. Don't forget that. So there you go. Isaiah 43, boom.
Yeah. Hey, before we finish our show today, just a couple pieces of announcements, things that are coming up. Again, we are in the midst of this series, 7 Letters at our church here at Hermnaz. And man, I'll tell you what, not only have our Sunday mornings been great, but the encounter on Sunday nights at 5:30 p.m. has been amazing. Yep. It's just so refreshing to see people praying and taking communion, and just deep reflection is happening. And I know you're hearing the stories. I'm hearing the stories. Life change is happening in our people, and revival's taking place, and that's what we've prayed for, and that's what God made this series. So if you don't have a church home, come on it down. Sundays 10:30 a.m. for our morning service, and then 5:30 p.m. Throughout the rest of this series. So we got four left,
4 weeks
of encounter, and that's at 5:30 p.m. on Sundays, and it will change your life. It is, as you've been saying, it's an inconvenience, but I tell you what, it's once you do it, it doesn't become an inconvenience anymore. It's like, oh, this is worth more time than I'm even giving it. So definitely do that. And the question we've been asking, and we're asking you today, and I suppose this whole Shalom conversation really fits right into it. What is it going to take for you to have personal revival in your life? And Shalom is a part of that personal revival for many of us. Also, coming up the 31st of October. So
Halloween, Chocolate Day.
A little more than a month away.
Yeah.
It's a Sunday, 3 p.m. to 5 p.m. here on the campus of Hermiston Nazarene Church. We are going to have our Fall Fest. It is back in full throes this year.
We had over 1,000 people last year.
1,000 people. And we did it like just the trunks last year.
Yep.
And this year we are returning back to our quote-unquote roots of where we had Fall Fest in the past before pandemic. And so we've got a glow-in-the-dark carnival that's going to happen. We've got hay rides. Cotton candy is going to be served, I think. There's, of course, going to be trunks with all kinds of candy goodies for kids. And So we'd love to have you here. It's free. Again, 3 to 5, Sunday, October 31st. And I know
you can register online.
Register online. It's going to be a great time. And if you're in the community and you want to have a trunk, we're allowing that, right?
I guess that's where you register online. Is if you want to volunteer, you can register online.
If you're not volunteering, you don't
You
have
just
to
show
register.
up
You
and
just
go
show
home
up.
with a ton of chocolate.
I guess that's probably a good thing
Yeah.
to make sure we
Yeah.
specify. So yeah, Fall Fest, October 31st, is going to be great. And thank you for tuning in. And again, as we always do, we thank our board, we thank our church for giving us the ability to have this podcast each week. And it is just a joy to do this with you every week.
With me
Yeah.
or with them?
Well, both.
Okay, good.
And say a prayer for this guy. He's got some tests to do tomorrow, and
Yeah, it's all good.
it's just final.
It's good.
Nothing bad. So we're just really glad that you're here, dude. Love you.
Yeah, back at you.
And hey, we'll see you next week, Tuesday at 10 a.m.